The bell above the glass door rang sharply as the man stepped into the jewelry store, his polished shoes skidding slightly on the marble floor. He caught himself, straightened his tailored suit, and tightened his grip around the small velvet box in his pocket, as if it might disappear if he loosened his fingers. "Good afternoon, sir," a sales attendant said warmly from behind the counter. He didn't respond. His eyes had already locked onto the woman standing a few feet away, arranging diamond rings beneath the glass. His breath stalled halfway into his chest. The world around him thinned, sounds dulling as though he had stepped under water. She lifted her head. Their eyes met. The velvet box slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a soft, humiliating thud. The woman froze. Her fingers tightened around the ring she had been holding, knuckles whitening. For a brief, terrifying second, neither of them moved. "Sir?" the attendant repeated. "Are you all right?" He nodded stiffly, bending to pick up the box, though his hand trembled. "Yes. I dropped something." Her gaze didn't leave his face. Years collapsed into a single breath. He saw it clearly now. The same eyes, the same curve of her lips, older, yes, stronger, harder, but unmistakably her. "Mr. Kang?" she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Hearing his name from her mouth again hit harder than any accusation ever had. Before he could answer, a small voice cut between them. "Mom?" A young girl stepped out from behind the counter, no older than 6. She clutched a stuffed rabbit with one ear missing, eyes wide with curiosity as she looked up at the tall stranger, blocking her view. His heart slammed violently against his ribs. "Mom?" The woman swallowed. "Gia, go sit by the chair," she said gently, forcing a calm she didn't feel. "But I was helping," the girl protested. "I know. Just for a minute." Reluctantly, the child shuffled away, glancing back once, straight at him. Her eyes lingered, puzzled, almost familiar. Something inside him cracked. "Yoon Seo," he said at last, her name tasting foreign and intimate on his tongue. She straightened her shoulders. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I could say the same." His voice sounded steady, but it wasn't. "You work here?" She nodded. "Yes." 1,000 questions fought for escape, but the most dangerous one pressed hardest at the front of his mind. He looked toward the little girl, now humming softly to herself. "How old is she?" he asked. Yoon Seo's jaw tightened. "Why does that matter?" "It matters," he said, more sharply than he intended. The attendant shifted awkwardly. "Would you like to see engagement rings, sir?" The word engagement sliced through the air. "Yes," he replied automatically, eyes never leaving Yoon Seo. "That's why I came." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Then I'll have someone else assist you." She turned to step away. "No," he said quickly. "Please just you." She hesitated, then nodded once. Professional. Distant. She slid a tray of rings toward him, hands steady despite the storm behind her eyes. "Who is she?" Yoon Seo asked, her tone neutral. "The woman you're buying this for." He exhaled slowly. "Someone my family approves of." A humorless smile touched her lips. "Of course." Silence stretched. He picked up a ring, barely seeing it. All he could think about was how different her life looked from the one he had imagined for her. "You disappeared," he said. "No calls, no explanation." "You didn't leave room for one," she replied calmly. "You were busy becoming who you wanted to be." "And you?" His voice softened. "Is this what you wanted?" She met his gaze head on. "This is what I built." The girl's laughter drifted over. His chest tightened again. "Is she—" He stopped himself, fear clawing up his spine. "Is she mine?" Yoon Seo's composure finally cracked. Her eyes glistened, but her voice held firm. "You don't get to ask that like this. Not after 6 years." 6 years? His knees nearly buckled. "I didn't know," he said hoarsely. If I had, you would have done exactly what you did then, she cut in. Chosen your empire. The bell rang again as another customer entered, snapping the moment apart. Yoon Seo pushed the tray back toward him. Choose a ring, Mr. Kang, she said softly. Your future is waiting. He stared at the diamonds, each one blinding, meaningless. His gaze drifted back to the child, to the woman he had once loved, and to the life unfolding without him. For the first time in years, the billionaire CEO felt completely powerless. He slipped the ring tray back across the counter as if it burned his skin. I need air, he muttered, already stepping away. Yoon Seo watched him retreat toward the display cases near the window. Her pulse hammered, but she followed, keeping a careful distance. You shouldn't have come here, she said under her breath. I didn't know it was you, he replied. If I had... You still would have walked in, she said. You always do. He turned sharply. That's not fair, isn't it? She folded her arms, forcing herself to breathe. You walked out of our apartment without looking back. You signed papers without reading them. You built walls so high you forgot who you locked outside. His jaw clenched. I did what I had to do. And so did I. He glanced toward Jia. The girl had climbed onto the chair and was swinging her legs, humming, oblivious. His voice dropped. She looks like you. Yoon Seo's mouth twitched. Everyone says that. And her eyes, he added. They look like... Stop, she said quietly. Tell me the truth. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Not here. A pause, then he nodded. After your shift, please. She hesitated, then said, There's a cafe across the street. 1 hour. He exhaled in relief he didn't deserve. I'll be there. When she returned to the counter, her hands shook. Jia noticed immediately. Mom, are you sick? Yoon Seo crouched, brushing hair from her daughter's face. No, sweetheart. Just tired. Is that man scary? Jia whispered. Yoon Seo followed her gaze to where Kang stood, staring at a ring as if it might answer him. No, she said carefully. He's someone I used to know. An hour later, the cafe smelled of burnt coffee and rain-soaked coats. Kang sat stiffly, hands clasped, eyes tracking the door. When Yoon Seo entered with Jia, he stood too fast, chair scraping. Sit, Yoon Seo said. Please. Jia climbed onto the seat beside her mother. Kang watched her, unable to look away. This is Jia, Yoon Seo said. He swallowed. Hello. Jia studied him. You're tall. A weak smile escaped him. I hear that a lot. Do you know my mom? She asked. Yoon Seo answered before he could. Yes, a long time ago. Jia nodded, satisfied. Okay. She turned to her Coco. Kang leaned forward, voice barely steady. How old is she? 6. His breath hitched. And her birthday? Yoon Seo's eyes didn't leave his. April 3rd. The date slammed into him. 9 months after the night he left. I didn't know, he whispered again, tears burning. You didn't tell me. You didn't ask, she replied. You changed your number. Your assistant blocked my emails. Your lawyers sent everything back unopened. He closed his eyes. I was afraid. Of what? She asked. Loving us? He opened them, shame naked in his gaze. Of choosing wrong. She laughed softly, without humor. You did choose, just not us. Jia looked between them. Are you fighting? No, Yoon Seo said quickly. Just talking. Kang reached into his wallet with trembling fingers and pulled out a photo. This is my fiancée, he said. My family wants this marriage. Yoon Seo glanced once. She's beautiful. She's safe, he corrected. Predictable. And I wasn't. He shook his head. You were everything. That terrified me. Silence settled. Rain streaked the window. I'm not asking to rewrite the past, he said finally. I just want to know my daughter. Yoon Seo's chest tightened. You don't get to demand that. I'm not demanding, he said. I'm begging. Jia tugged Yoon Seo's sleeve. Mom? Yoon Seo kissed her hair. Yes, baby? Can he come to my school play? Jia asked. We need parents. The word parents crushed the air from his lungs. Yoon Seo stared at her daughter, then at the man she once loved. The future pressed close, sharp and uncertain. We'll talk about it, she said carefully. Kang nodded, tears slipping free. Thank you. If this story is pulling you in already, take a second to like the video and subscribe. The next part changes everything. Outside, thunder rolled as if the sky itself was bracing for what came next. Kang didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark of his penthouse, the city glittering below like a life he no longer recognized. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Jia's face, heard her voice. Parents. The word echoed until dawn. By morning, he made a decision that terrified him more than any hostile takeover ever had. At the jewelry store, Yoon Seo noticed him immediately. He stood outside the glass, hesitating, like a man afraid to knock on his own past. When he finally stepped in, she straightened instinctively. I'm not here to buy anything, he said quickly. I just want to talk. She glanced at Jia, who was coloring at the small table. 5 minutes. That's enough, he said. They stood near the display cases. I canceled the engagement, he said. Her head snapped up. Why would you tell me that? Because it matters, he replied. I won't build another lie on top of the first one. You're impulsive, she said. You always were. No, he said quietly. I was afraid. This is me not being afraid, she scoffed. You expect applause. I expect nothing, he said. I just want to show up. For how long? She challenged. Until your board panics? Until your mother cries? He didn't flinch. As long as you let me. Jia ran over, holding her drawing. Mom, look, I made a family. Kang froze. The drawing showed 3 stick figures holding hands. Who's that? Yoon Seo asked softly. Jia pointed. You, me, and the tall man. Kang's throat closed. She doesn't even know me, he whispered. She knows energy, Yoon Seo said. Children always do. Days turned into weeks. Kang began visiting regularly. At first, he stayed back, observing. Then he brought snacks, then books. Jia warmed to him cautiously, testing his patience, his promises. Will you come tomorrow? She asked one evening. Yes, he said without hesitation. She smiled. You always say that. And I always will, he replied. Yoon Seo watched, conflicted. Every smile felt like hope. Every hope felt dangerous. One afternoon, Kang showed up late. Jia's face fell. He said he'd come, she murmured. Yoon Seo knelt beside her. Sometimes adults. The bell rang. Kang rushed in, breathless. Traffic. I'm sorry. Jia crossed her arms. You were almost a liar. He knelt to her level. I won't be, he said. I promise. That night, Yoon Seo confronted him outside. Don't promise what you can't control. I can control this, he said. I stepped down as CEO. Her eyes widened. What? I handed it to the board, he said. I kept my shares, but I'm done chasing ghosts. You gave up everything, she whispered. I'm choosing something, he corrected. Fear crept in. And when it gets hard, it already is, he said. And I'm still here. The past wasn't done with them. A reporter appeared outside the store the next day. Photos surfaced. Headlines screamed secrets. Billionaire's hidden child. Yoon Seo trembled as Kang read it. I never wanted this for her. I'll handle it, he said. No, she snapped. You'll destroy us. I won't, he insisted. I'll protect her. How? She demanded. With money? With power? With consistency, he said. with silence, with showing up. She studied him, searching for cracks. If you fail her, I won't, he said firmly. That night, Jia clung to Yoon Seo. Are they taking my tall man away? Yoon Seo swallowed. No, baby. Kang stood in the doorway, heart breaking and healing all at once. For the first time, the future didn't feel like a conquest. It felt like a responsibility, and he was terrified of losing it. Kang spent the next morning pacing in front of Yoon Seo's apartment. Rain-slicked streets reflected neon lights, but he barely noticed. His mind raced with possibilities and regrets, with words left unsaid and promises yet unproven. He heard the soft knock on the door and opened it to find Jia holding an umbrella awkwardly, her small frame shaking in the cold. "Come on," he said, lifting her gently. "Let's not get soaked." Inside, Yoon Seo was already waiting, arms crossed, watching him like a general eyeing an unpredictable ally. "She's your responsibility now, not mine," she said sharply. "If you falter, it's on you." "I know," he said softly. "I won't falter." For the first time, he felt the weight of the title he'd carried all these years, CEO, leader, billionaire. But here, none of that mattered. What mattered was keeping promises to someone who depended entirely on him. Jia tugged his sleeve. "Will you read to me tonight?" Her eyes glimmered with hope that was pure and untainted by adult fears. "I will," he said. "Every night, if you let me." Yoon Seo's jaw tightened. "Don't make promises lightly. She's seen enough broken ones." "I'll earn her trust," he said firmly, meeting her gaze. "And yours too, eventually." The weeks that followed were a battle. Kang juggled business obligations with the new role he'd thrust himself into. Every meeting, every deal felt hollow compared to the small victories at home. A shared laugh, a bedtime story, a drawing left on the table with stick figures holding hands. Those stick figures carried more meaning than any contract he had ever signed. One evening, Yoon Seo confronted him after a particularly chaotic day. "You think just showing up makes up for 6 years of absence." "I know it doesn't," he said, shoulders slumping, "but it's a start." "And if it's not enough," she demanded, "if she needs more than you can give?" "I'll learn," he said. "I'll adapt. I'll do whatever it takes." She studied him for a long moment, searching for sincerity. Finally, she nodded slowly. "Then prove it." Their lives became a careful dance. Kang learned the rhythms of bedtime routines, homework, and playground politics. He discovered that parenting was nothing like running a corporation. Patience was currency, and love was the only strategy that worked. Every smile from GR was a victory. Every tear he prevented was a war won. And every time Yoon Seo looked at him, he felt her measuring whether he had truly changed, or if he was still the man who had left. One rainy afternoon, Kang received a call from his mother, her voice brittle with expectation. "When will you finalize the engagement?" she asked, oblivious to everything else. "I won't," he said firmly. "I've chosen a different path." "You're throwing away everything," she hissed. "I'm choosing something worth more than everything," he replied. He hung up, breathing heavily, relief and fear intermingling. This time, the decision wasn't for power. It was for love and responsibility, for something that no money could buy. That evening, as Jia curled up beside him on the couch, drawing another family picture, he watched her small, focused face. "You're a good artist," he whispered. "Will you hang it on your wall?" she asked. "I will," he said, "right next to mine." Yoon Seo entered quietly, standing behind them. Kang's gaze met hers, and in that silent exchange, an understanding passed between them. The past was heavy, but the present could be built brick by brick, moment by moment. Before the day ended, he turned to Yoon Seo. I know it's not easy, and I know I don't get credit for the time I lost, but I'll stay. I'll show up. I'll protect her. Always." She let out a long breath, shoulders relaxing slightly. "Actions speak louder than words," she said. "Don't disappoint her or me." "I won't," he whispered. Jia yawned and snuggled closer to her mother. Kang brushed her hair back gently. He realized more than ever that this tiny family was fragile, but it was worth fighting for. And for the first time he understood that his greatest battles weren't fought in boardrooms, they were fought in hearts. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more captivating Afro-Korean drama. Comment below what you think Kang should do next. You'll be part of the journey. Thunder rumbled outside as rain streaked the window pane. Kang looked out at the dark city, knowing storms would come, but determined that he would stand firm, that he would not run. Tonight the future felt uncertain, yes, but also real, possible, and finally within reach. Kang woke early the next morning, the city still wrapped in a gray drizzle, and checked his phone for messages from Yoon Seo. None yet. He felt a tug of anxiety he hadn't experienced in years, not over deals, not over contracts, but over a little girl's breakfast, and whether her mother was awake. The realization hit him full force. This wasn't just responsibility, it was life itself now. He arrived at Yoon Seo's apartment, umbrella in hand, and found Jia already dressed, hair braided neatly. She ran toward him. "You promised," she squealed. Kang scooped her up, spinning her around, careful not to let her slip. Laughter filled the hallway, echoing against the walls, and for a moment all the chaos of his former life fell away. Yoon Seo watched from the doorway, arms folded but a faint smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "Don't spoil her too much," she warned. "I plan to spoil her exactly enough to make her smile," he said lightly, though the tremor in his voice betrayed how serious he was. They walked to the park, rain softening to a drizzle. Kang held Jia's hand as they navigated puddles, keeping her safe. "Do you like when it rains?" he asked. "Yes," she said, spinning in place. "It's like the clouds are dancing." He laughed, and it was the first genuine sound he'd allowed himself in months. "Then we'll dance with the clouds together." When they arrived at the playground, Kang noticed other parents watching, some whispering. He caught their eyes but ignored them. This wasn't a business negotiation, and there were no boardrooms or cameras to impress. Here, he was just a father trying to make up for lost time. Jia ran to the swings, and Kang pushed her gently. Her laughter rang out, bright and pure, a sound that hit him sharper than any deal's victory. "Higher, Daddy," she cried. Kang hesitated. The word "daddy" on her lips made his chest constrict with emotion he couldn't name. "Careful," he said softly. "I've got you." Yoon Seo approached, keeping her distance. "You're changing," she said, not as a criticism but as an observation. "I have to," he admitted. "There's no empire worth more than this." The afternoon passed with small victories and tentative steps. Kang learned the rhythm of laughter and tears, of bedtime stories and quiet walks. He saw Jia's creativity in drawings, her honesty in questions, and her courage in confronting the small injustices of a playground world. He also saw Yoon Seo's quiet strength, the way she shielded her child, and the patience that had once been denied him. As evening fell, they returned home. Kang tucked Jie in, brushing stray hair from her face. "Good night, Princess," he whispered. "Good night, Daddy," she replied, eyes already half closed. Yoon Seo stood at the doorway, watching silently. Kang turned to her. "I can't promise perfection," he said, "but I can promise presence. I can promise effort." Her gaze softened. "That's all I've ever wanted." Outside, the rain had stopped. Streetlights glimmered on wet pavement, reflecting the quiet hope in his chest. He realized then that redemption wasn't a single act. It was a collection of tiny, persistent ones. It was showing up even when the past tried to pull you back. It was staying even when fear whispered to leave. Kang stepped back, looking at Yoon Seo. I don't want to miss another day. Not of her life. Not of ours. Yoon Seo nodded. Then don't miss it. Earn it every day. He smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and determination. I will. And for the first time, the billionaire CEO felt like he understood what it meant to fight for something priceless. Not power, not money, not reputation, but love, family, and second chances. As the camera pans out from their small apartment, the city lights flicker like stars around them. Kang takes a deep breath, Jia sleeping peacefully, and Yoon Seo standing beside him. Their story isn't over, but for the first time, it's real. If you've been captivated by this story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more Afro-Korean drama, and leave a comment telling us what you would do if you were in Kang's shoes. Your thoughts could shape the next story. And with that, the screen fades slowly, leaving viewers with a sense of hope, reconciliation, and the weight of choices made and mended. A story of love reclaimed and a life rebuilt one day at a time.